The rehearsal dinner was held at the Grand Meridian, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across tables draped in imported Italian linen. My sister Vanessa had spared no expense. Literally no expense, considering she'd used my credit cards to pay for everything. I sat at the far end of the family table, wearing a simple navy dress while everyone else sparkled in designer clothes. Vanessa held court at the center, her engagement ring catching the light every time she gestured. The diamond was 3 carats, maybe 4. I happened to know it cost $47,000 because I'd seen the charge on my Amex statement 2 months ago. "This salmon is absolutely divine," my mother gushed, dabbing her lips with a napkin. "Vanessa, darling, you have such impeccable taste." "Only the best for my wedding weekend," Vanessa said, flipping her freshly highlighted hair. "Those highlights cost $850 at an exclusive salon." I knew because that charge had appeared on my visa the same day. My father raised his wine glass. "To my beautiful daughter who's always known her worth. You deserve every bit of this happiness." They clinked glasses around the table. No one looked my direction. My younger brother Marcus finally acknowledged my presence. "Sarah, you're being awfully quiet tonight. Cat got your tongue." "Just enjoying the food," I said calmly, cutting into my chicken. The rehearsal dinner cost $18,000 for 60 guests. The charge had hit my MasterCard 3 days ago. "Of course she's quiet," Vanessa said, laughing. "What could she possibly contribute to a conversation about luxury weddings? She works some boring government job and lives in that sad little apartment." My mother nodded sympathetically. "Sarah, honey, we keep telling you, you need to put yourself out there more. Look at your sister. She's marrying an investment banker. Meanwhile, you're 32 and still single." "My career keeps me busy," I said. "Career?" Vanessa snorted. "You're a bank examiner or something equally dull." "How thrilling." She turned to her fiancé Brett, who sat beside her looking smug in a custom suit. "Brett makes more in bonuses than Sarah probably makes all year." Brett smirked. "Banking is where the real money is. Retail banking examination must be quaint." "Something like that," I said, taking a sip of water. The truth was, I worked for the Federal Reserve as a senior banking investigator, specializing in financial crimes and fraud. But I'd learned long ago that my family wasn't interested in the truth about my life. They'd decided I was the boring, unsuccessful sister, and nothing I said would change their minds. My Aunt Linda leaned across the table. "Sarah, dear, you really should let Vanessa help you with your wardrobe. That dress looks like something from a discount store." "It's comfortable," I said. "Comfortable," Vanessa repeated mockingly. "That's Sarah's entire life philosophy. Comfortable apartment, comfortable job, comfortable clothes. Meanwhile, some of us actually have ambition." The table laughed. I noticed my cousin Rachel recording on her phone, probably for Instagram. She'd been documenting every moment of Vanessa's wedding journey for her 50,000 followers. "Speaking of ambition," my father said, "Brett, tell us more about this deal you're closing." Brett launched into a detailed story about a merger he was facilitating. I listened carefully, noting several details that sounded questionable from a regulatory standpoint, but I remained silent. Around me, my family hung on his every word, impressed by his financial acumen. "That's the kind of go-getter attitude that builds wealth," my father said approvingly. "Not like these government workers who just coast along with their pension plans." "Dad makes a good point," Marcus added. "Sarah, when are you going to get a real job? Something in the private sector where you can actually make money?" "I'm satisfied with my position," I said. Vanessa leaned forward, her eyes glittering with malice. "You know what, everyone? I have a confession to make." She paused dramatically, making sure all attention was on her. "I've been using Sarah's credit cards for wedding expenses." The table went silent. Then my mother laughed nervously. "Vanessa, don't joke about things like that." "I'm not joking," Vanessa said, grinning. "Remember 6 months ago when Sarah gave me her wallet to hold while she used the restroom at that restaurant? I took photos of all her credit cards. Numbers, security codes, everything." My blood ran cold, but I kept my expression neutral. "You're kidding," Aunt Linda said, though she was smiling. "Completely serious," Vanessa continued. "I've charged almost everything to her cards. The dress, the flowers, the venue deposit, the catering, all on Sarah's credit. Brett looked uncomfortable for the first time that evening. Babe, that's actually hilarious. Vanessa interrupted. I know, right? And the best part is, what can she do about it? We're family. She's not going to press charges against her own sister for her dream wedding. My father frowned slightly. Vanessa, that does seem a bit much. Oh please, Dad, Vanessa said dismissively. Sarah makes decent money and never spends it on anything. She's been hoarding it in her boring savings account. I'm just putting it to better use. Think of it as her wedding gift to me. How much are we talking about? Marcus asked, clearly entertained. Vanessa pulled out her phone and started scrolling. Let's see. The dress was $12,000, alterations another $2,000. Flowers are $8,500. The venue deposit was $25,000. Catering is $45,000 for 200 guests. The honeymoon to Bora Bora is $18,000. Photography and videography package is $15,000. The rehearsal dinner tonight is $18,000. Entertainment is $12,000. Invitations were $3,000. She kept listing items, each more expensive than the last. My mother's eyes widened. That's over $150,000. $167,430 to be exact, Vanessa said proudly. And that's not counting the smaller things. Hair, makeup, the bridal party gifts, the decorations. I'd say we're probably closer to $190,000 total. The table sat in stunned silence. Vanessa, Brett said quietly, you told me your parents were paying for the wedding. They're paying for some of it, Vanessa said with a wave of her hand. But Sarah's covering the bulk. Whether she knows it or not. I carefully set down my fork. So you're admitting to credit card fraud? Vanessa laughed. Fraud? We're sisters. You can afford it. Stop being so dramatic. Actually, I said calmly, using someone else's credit card information without permission, regardless of relationship, constitutes identity theft and credit card fraud under federal law. It's a felony. Oh, here we go, Vanessa rolled her eyes. The boring bank examiner trying to sound important. What are you going to do, Sarah? Report me? Ruin my wedding? Make Mom and Dad hate you even more than they already do? My mother reached over and patted Vanessa's hand. Sarah, honey, I know this is unconventional, but Vanessa's right, you're not going to press charges. Just think of it as helping your sister. Family helps family. I helped pay for Marcus's car when he needed it, my father added. We all chip in for each other. You asked me before taking $5,000 for Marcus's car, I pointed out. And I said yes. This is different. Is it though? Vanessa challenged. You would have said no if I asked. You're selfish like that. You'd rather hoard your money than see your sister happy. So I just bypassed the part where you say no. Rachel was definitely recording now, her phone aimed directly at me. This is incredible content, she whispered to my cousin James. So what? Marcus said. You going to call the cops on your own sister at her wedding weekend? That would make you the villain in this family forever. I looked around the table. Every face showed the same expectation, that I would back down except this, let Vanessa have her dream wedding at my expense. They'd already decided I was the lesser daughter, the boring sister. In their minds, my money was expendable, my feelings irrelevant. Just to be clear, I said slowly, you're admitting that you deliberately stole my credit card information and used it to make unauthorized charges totaling approximately $190,000? Oh my God, yes, Vanessa said with exasperation. What are you going to do about it? To me? I don't have the money to pay you back. Brett and I are using all our savings for the down payment on our house. So even if you took me to court, which would make you a terrible sister and a terrible person, you'd get nothing. She's got a point, my father said. Sarah, just let it go. The money's already spent. Vanessa's wedding is tomorrow. Don't ruin her special day over money. It's not about the money, I said quietly. It's about the principle. The principle? My mother scoffed. The principle is that family supports family. Clearly you don't understand that. I pulled out my phone. Who are you texting? Vanessa demanded. You better not be starting drama in the family group chat. I'm not texting anyone, I said, opening my secure work app. I'm filing an official report. The table erupted in laughter. A report with who? Marcus guffawed. The Better Business Bureau? Oh, I'm sure they'll get right on it. I typed quickly, entering the case details, suspect information and evidence summary. My credentials auto-populated at the top of the form. Senior Special Agent, Federal Reserve Criminal Investigation Division. Sarah works for the Federal Reserve, Brett said dismissively to the table. They examine banks, make sure they're following regulations. They don't investigate individual crimes. The Federal Reserve has multiple divisions, I said calmly, still typing. The Division of Banking Supervision and Regulation does examine banks. That's not where I work. Then where do you work? My father asked. The Criminal Investigation Division, I said, submitting the report. I'm a federal agent who investigates financial crimes, including credit card fraud, identity theft, bank fraud, and money laundering. The laughter died. You're not a federal agent, Vanessa said, but her voice had lost its confidence. You're a bank examiner. I'm a senior special agent, I corrected. I've been with the Criminal Investigation Division for 8 years. Before that, I spent 2 years with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. I looked up from my phone. I specialize in identity theft cases. My mother's face had gone pale. Sarah, you're exaggerating. You would have told us if you were an FBI agent. I left the FBI 6 years ago, I said. And I did tell you. At Thanksgiving in 2019, I mentioned my promotion to the Federal Reserve Criminal Investigation Division. You told me to stop being boring and change the subject to Vanessa's new boyfriend. The table was completely silent now. Brett cleared his throat. Okay, but surely you're not going to actually prosecute your own sister. You're just trying to scare her. I've already filed the report, I said, showing them my phone screen. The official Federal Reserve seal was visible at the top, along with my badge number and the case number that had been automatically generated. As a federal agent, I'm legally obligated to report crimes I become aware of, even if they involve family members. Sarah, my father said slowly, let's think about this rationally. I am thinking rationally, I interrupted. Vanessa admitted to deliberately stealing credit card information and making unauthorized charges totaling approximately $190,000. She did this on camera. I nodded toward Rachel, who had lowered her phone, looking panicked. In front of multiple witnesses at a public venue. This isn't a he said she said situation. This is a documented confession to multiple federal felonies. Federal. Vanessa whispered. Credit card fraud crosses state lines, I explained. The credit card companies are based in different states, vendors are in multiple states, and the honeymoon involves international travel. That makes it federal jurisdiction. The FBI will likely be involved, along with the Secret Service Financial Crimes Division. The Secret Service investigates financial crimes? Marcus asked stupidly. That's their primary function, I said. Most people don't know that. Vanessa's hands were shaking. You can't do this. It's my wedding tomorrow. You should have thought of that before committing multiple felonies, I said simply. My mother found her voice. Sarah Elizabeth Morrison, you stop this right now. I am your mother and I'm telling you to drop this ridiculous report or whatever you filed. I met her eyes. With all due respect, Mom, you have no authority over federal law enforcement investigations. I have authority over you, she snapped. I'm 32 years old and a federal agent, I replied. You really don't. My phone buzzed. I glanced down at the message from my supervisor, Assistant Director James Chin. Report received. Team is 15 minutes out. Do you need immediate backup? I texted back. Situation stable. Suspects not fleeing. See you soon. Who are you texting? Brett demanded. My supervisor, I said. He's coordinating the response team. Response team. Vanessa's voice cracked. What response team? The FBI and Secret Service don't take kindly to financial crimes of this magnitude, I explained. When someone confesses to stealing nearly $200,000, they tend to respond quickly. Especially when the victim is a federal agent. It suggests the perpetrator either didn't know or didn't care about the law, both of which are concerning. The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other diners were watching our table with interest. Brett stood up abruptly. We're leaving. I wouldn't recommend that, I said calmly. Fleeing would add additional charges and make you look guilty of conspiracy. Conspiracy. Brett sat back down heavily. I didn't know anything about this. You didn't question where the money for a $200,000 wedding came from? I asked. Vanessa told you tonight she charged it to my credit cards. You said nothing. I just found out. Brett protested. And yet you didn't immediately insist she call the credit card companies to reverse the charges, I pointed out. That could be seen as complicity after the fact. Brett turned to Vanessa, his face red. I told you we should have had a smaller wedding. I told you $200,000 was insane. You said your parents were paying. They were supposed to, Vanessa said, tears starting to stream down her face. But then Dad's investments didn't do as well and Mom said they could only give $30,000 and I'd already put down deposits and I couldn't have a cheap wedding, everyone would judge me. So you committed fraud? Brett shouted, drawing looks from the entire restaurant. Do you have any idea what this could do to my career? I work in banking. I can't be married to a convicted felon. Maybe you should have thought of that before you benefited from the proceeds of fraud, I suggested. My father stood up. Everyone calm down. Sarah, sweetheart, please. Let's talk about this privately. I'm sure we can work something out. There's nothing to work out, I said. The report has been filed. The investigation is underway. Federal agents are en route. How long do we have? My mother asked frantically. I checked my phone. About 10 minutes now. The table erupted into chaos. Marcus started Googling credit card fraud penalties on his phone. Aunt Linda was calling her lawyer husband. Rachel had completely forgotten about Instagram and was deleting the videos she'd recorded. My parents were having a frantic whispered conversation with Vanessa, who was sobbing into her napkin. Brett had moved 3 seats away from Vanessa and was on his phone with someone saying, I had no knowledge of any illegal activity, over and over. A well-dressed man approached our table. Excuse me, I'm the manager. We've received complaints about the noise level. I'm going to have to ask you to. Federal agent, I said, showing him my badge. There's about to be a law enforcement operation here. You might want to clear the surrounding tables. His eyes widened. Should I call the police? Federal agents are already en route, I assured him. But you should probably make sure your security footage from tonight is preserved. It's evidence in a federal case. He backed away quickly, speaking urgently into his radio. My mother grabbed my hand. Sarah, please. She's your sister. Your only sister. You can't send her to prison. She sent herself to prison, I said, not unkindly. I told her it was fraud. She laughed at me. She asked what I could do about it. You can stop this, my father pleaded. You filed the report, you can unfile it. That's not how it works, I explained. Once a federal crime is reported, especially one this significant, the investigation proceeds regardless of the victim's wishes. Even if I wanted to drop it, which I don't, I couldn't. Vanessa looked up, mascara running down her face. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I'll pay you back. With what money? I asked. You just told everyone you spent all your savings on a house down payment. We'll sell the house, Brett said immediately. We'll return everything for the wedding we can still return. We'll make payments. That's between you and the court, I said. Restitution is typically part of sentencing. Sentencing? Vanessa whispered. Credit card fraud involving amounts over $100,000 typically carries a sentence of 5 to 10 years in federal prison, I said. Identity theft adds another 2 to 5 years. Depending on how the prosecutor structures the charges, you could be looking at a significant sentence. But I'm getting married tomorrow, Vanessa sobbed. You might want to postpone, I suggested. The restaurant's front doors opened. Assistant Director Chin entered, followed by 4 other agents in FBI windbreakers and 2 Secret Service agents in dark suits. The restaurant went completely silent as they approached our table. Agent Morrison, A.D. Chin said formally. We received your report. I stood. Sir. This is the suspect, Vanessa Morrison. I gestured to my sister, who had gone white as a sheet. She confessed to identity theft and credit card fraud in front of multiple witnesses approximately 20 minutes ago. Is the confession recorded? Asked one of the FBI agents. Rachel silently held up her phone. I'll need that phone as evidence, the agent said, putting on gloves. But my Instagram, Rachel started. We'll return it after we extract the relevant footage, the agent assured her. Adichin looked at Vanessa. Ms. Morrison, I'm Assistant Director James Chin with the Federal Reserve Criminal Investigation Division. These agents are from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit and the Secret Service. We need to ask you some questions. I want a lawyer, Vanessa said, her voice shaking. That's your right, Adichin said. But I should inform you that we've already obtained preliminary warrants for your phone records, credit card statements and bank accounts. We'll be executing those tonight. One of the Secret Service agents stepped forward. We'll also need to speak with Brett Morrison. Sir, were you aware of the fraudulent charges? Brett's expensive lawyer veneer cracked. I want a lawyer too. Interesting, the agent said, making a note. My mother stood up, trying to maintain her dignity. This is ridiculous. You're treating my daughter like a criminal over a family misunderstanding. Ma'am, Adichin said patiently, your daughter admitted to stealing credit card information and making approximately $190,000 in unauthorized charges. That's not a misunderstanding. That's multiple felonies. But she's family, my mother insisted. Sarah's family. She shouldn't have reported this. Agent Morrison had a legal obligation to report, Adichin said. But even without that obligation, no one should be expected to absorb a $190,000 loss, family or not. My father tried a different approach. What if we pay it all back right now? Surely that resolves the issue. Restitution doesn't erase the crime, one of the FBI agents explained. If someone robs a bank and then gives the money back, they still robbed the bank. This isn't a bank robbery, my father protested. You're right, the agent said. Bank robbery typically involves less money and shorter sentences than large-scale credit card fraud. The blood drained from my father's face. Over the next hour, the restaurant was transformed into a crime scene. The FBI agents interviewed witnesses, collected Rachel's phone and several other people's phones that had captured video. The Secret Service agents worked with the restaurant to secure their security footage. Adichin coordinated everything while also ensuring the restaurant's other patrons could leave without disruption. Vanessa and Brett were separated and questioned individually. I could see Vanessa crying in the restaurant's private dining room while an FBI agent took her statement. Brett sat at the bar looking shell-shocked, answering another agent's questions in a monotone. My parents tried multiple times to convince me to fix this, but I remained firm. Marcus had disappeared shortly after the agents arrived. Probably realizing his mocking comments about my boring government job had aged poorly. Aunt Linda and the other relatives who'd laughed at me earlier now couldn't meet my eyes. Around 10 p.m. Adichin approached me. We have enough to proceed. We'll be arresting Ms. Morrison tonight. Tonight? My mother gasped, having overheard. But the wedding is tomorrow. The wedding is the least of her concerns, Adichin said. Given the amount involved and the fact that she used the funds for luxury expenses rather than necessities, the judge will likely set a significant bail. How significant? My father asked weakly. For a $190,000 fraud case? Probably $500,000 to $1 million, Adichin estimated. Will you be able to post that? My parents looked at each other in horror. They just told everyone they could only contribute $30,000 to the wedding because of poor investments. Bail bondsmen would require 10% cash, one of the FBI agents added helpfully. So $50,000 to $100,000, plus collateral for the rest. My father sat down heavily. We don't have that. Then your daughter will remain in federal custody until trial, Adichin said simply. Trial? My mother whispered. When would that be? Federal cases typically take 6 months to a year, the FBI agent said. Depending on the docket. She'll be in jail for a year? My mother looked like she might faint. If she can't make bail, yes, the agent confirmed. Brett suddenly appeared at my elbow. This is your fault, he hissed. You could have stopped this. You're destroying her life over money. Adichin stepped between us. Sir, I suggest you step back and calm down. She's a vindictive bitch, Brett continued, his voice rising. What kind of person sends their own sister to jail? The kind who has $190,000 stolen from them, I said calmly. What kind of person benefits from stolen money and then blames the victim? I'm canceling the wedding, Brett announced. I'm not marrying a criminal. This is over. He stormed out of the restaurant, leaving Vanessa sobbing even harder in the private dining room. My mother pointed a shaking finger at me. Look what you've done. You've ruined her wedding, her engagement, her life. All because you're jealous that she's prettier and more successful than you. More successful? I repeated. She committed fraud because she couldn't afford her own wedding. I'm a federal agent with a career I've worked a decade to build. But your mom. She's more successful. My mother's face crumpled. How can you be so cold? She's your sister. She's a thief, I corrected. If a stranger had done this to me, you'd be demanding their arrest. The only difference is we share DNA. At 10:47 p.m., Vanessa was formally arrested. The FBI agent read her Miranda rights while she sobbed. My mother tried to hug her, but the agents needed to process her. My father stood frozen, looking 10 years older than he had at the start of dinner. As they led Vanessa out in handcuffs, she looked at me. I hate you, she said, her voice hoarse from crying. I will hate you for the rest of my life. Okay, I said simply. The restaurant finally emptied around midnight. The manager approached me apologetically. Agent Morrison, there's the matter of the bill. The rehearsal dinner bill? I asked. Yes. It's $18,000. I pulled out the same credit card Vanessa had used to charge it. Add 20% gratuity. The servers dealt with a lot tonight. He looked relieved. Thank you. And for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Thanks, I said. Adichin drove me home. That was a hell of a way to spend a Friday night, he said as we pulled up to my building. Sorry you had to deploy the whole team, I said. Don't be sorry, he said firmly. Morrison, you're one of our best agents precisely because you don't make exceptions. The law applies equally to everyone. That's the whole point. My family doesn't see it that way, I said quietly. Your family stole $190,000 from you and expected you to smile about it, he said. Their opinion on your choices isn't really relevant. I nodded slowly. He was right, but it still hurt. Take the weekend, Adichin said. You're officially off duty. If you need anything, call me. I thanked him and went up to my apartment. The same apartment my family had mocked earlier that evening. My sad little apartment with its view of the city, hardwood floors and dedicated home office. I'd bought it outright 3 years ago with my savings. The same savings Vanessa thought I'd been hoarding. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from relatives. I ignored all of them except one from my cousin Zoe, who'd been traveling for work and missed the drama. Zoe, Rachel just called me. What the hell happened? I gave her the abbreviated version. Zoe, so Vanessa stole $200,000 from you, bragged about it, and you had her arrested? Essentially, yes. Zoe, good. I never liked her anyway. She threw wine on my dress at your dad's birthday party and blamed it on me. Yeah, I remember that. Zoe, your parents are going to lose their minds. We already have. Zoe, need me to fly back for moral support? Yeah, I'm okay. But thanks. Saturday morning, I woke to 47 missed calls and 130 text messages. Most were from family members alternating between begging me to drop the charges, impossible, and calling me heartless, possible. But there were also messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Childhood friends, old colleagues, distant relatives. Apparently the story had spread fast. High school friend, heard what happened. Always knew Vanessa was toxic. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Former FBI colleague. Chin told me what went down. Well handled. Want to get coffee next week? Dad's brother, who my parents hated, your dad called me for bail money. Told him hell no. Proud of you, kid. The story hit local news by Saturday afternoon. Federal agent's sister arrested for $200,000 credit card fraud. The details were vague due to the ongoing investigation, but the basics were there. By Sunday it had gone viral. Apparently, Rachel's Instagram followers had screenshots of her deleted videos, and someone had leaked them. The internet's reaction was swift and brutal. Imagine being dumb enough to confess to federal crimes on camera. She asked, "What are you going to do about it?" to a federal agent's skull. The schadenfreude is strong with this one. Family is family until they steal $200,000 from you. Monday morning I returned to work. My colleagues had left a cake in the break room. Congratulations on your sister's arrest. You guys are terrible, I said, laughing despite myself. We're federal agents, my partner, Detective Williams, said. Dark humor is mandatory. Adichin called me into his office. The U.S. Attorney's Office wants to prosecute this aggressively. They're talking about making it an example case. Why? I asked. Credit card fraud is becoming epidemic, he explained. Having a case where someone openly confessed thinking they were immune because of family relationships. It's a good opportunity to send a message that no one is above the law. What kind of sentence are they pursuing? 8 to 12 years probably, he said. The amount involved, the premeditation, the lack of remorse. It all points to a significant sentence. I absorbed that. My sister could spend a decade in federal prison. You okay with that? Adichin asked gently. She made her choices, I said. I didn't force her to steal from me. I didn't force her to brag about it. I didn't force her to think she was untouchable. He nodded. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with remarkable professionalism. The arraignment was Tuesday. Vanessa appeared via video from the federal detention center, wearing an orange jumpsuit. She looked small and frightened, nothing like the confident woman who'd mocked me at the rehearsal dinner. The federal prosecutor laid out the charges. 15 counts of credit card fraud, 3 counts of identity theft, 1 count of wire fraud. Each count carried potential years in prison. Vanessa's court-appointed attorney argued for reduced bail, citing her lack of criminal history. The prosecutor countered that the premeditated nature of the crime and the amount involved made her a flight risk. The judge set bail at $750,000. My parents, sitting in the courtroom gallery, looked devastated. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed me. Agent Morrison, how do you feel about your sister's arrest? No comment, I said, walking to my car. Do you regret reporting her? No comment. What would you say to people who think you should have handled this privately? I paused. I'd say that crime is crime regardless of who commits it. We don't have a separate justice system for people with family connections. That quote became the headline. Federal agent. We don't have a separate justice system for family. My mother left a voicemail that night, her voice thick with tears. I hope you're proud of yourself. Your sister is sitting in a cell because of you. Sarah. She's never even had a parking ticket before. And you put her in jail like she's some kind of monster. We raised you better than this. We raised you to value family. I don't know who you've become, but you're not my daughter anymore. I saved the voicemail. Not to listen to again, but as evidence of the emotional manipulation that had characterized my entire life in this family. 3 weeks later, Vanessa took a plea deal. 8 years in federal prison, 5 years supervised release, full restitution of $193,472.18, the final accounting of all fraudulent charges, and permanent criminal record. Brett had already filed for an annulment of their engagement. The wedding venue had kept all deposits as per their contract. Money Vanessa had charged to my cards and would now have to pay back as part of restitution. My parents took out a second mortgage to pay me back immediately, hoping it would somehow reduce Vanessa's sentence. It didn't. The judge made clear that restitution was about making the victim whole, not about reducing consequences for the perpetrator. At Vanessa's sentencing hearing, my mother testified as a character witness, sobbing through her testimony about what a good daughter Vanessa had been. My father described her as generous and kind, someone who'd made one mistake. The judge listened patiently, then said, "This wasn't one mistake. This was a calculated series of crimes committed over 6 months, involving meticulous planning and repeated deliberate acts of theft. The defendant showed no remorse until facing consequences. 8 years." Vanessa sobbed as they led her away. My mother collapsed in the gallery. My father glared at me with pure hatred. I walked out of the courthouse and went back to work. 6 months later, I got promoted to supervisory special agent. My team handled complex financial crime investigations across 3 states. I was good at my job. Excellent, actually. I'd built a career on integrity, thoroughness, and an unwavering commitment to the law. My family never forgave me. I was excluded from all family events, removed from the family group chat, and written out of my parents' will. Cousins I'd grown up with blocked me on social media. Aunts and uncles I'd known my whole life pretended not to see me at the grocery store. But I'd also gained something: self-respect. For 32 years I'd been the family disappointment, the boring sister, the one who didn't quite measure up. I'd absorbed their contempt, their dismissal, their casual cruelty and convinced myself it was normal. It wasn't normal. And I didn't have to accept it anymore. My real family turned out to be my colleagues. People who valued integrity over image, who respected competence over compliance, who understood that doing the right thing often meant standing alone. A.D. Chin said it best at my promotion ceremony. Agent Morrison embodies everything we value in federal law enforcement. When faced with a choice between family loyalty and legal duty, she chose duty without hesitation. That's not coldness. That's courage. Vanessa is currently serving her sentence at FCI Danbury. She'll be eligible for early release in 6 years if she maintains good behavior. I hope she uses that time to reflect on her choices and become a better person. But honestly, that's not my problem anymore. I did my job. I enforced the law. And I refused to let family ties become immunity from consequences. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything. But sometimes everything you lose wasn't worth keeping.